Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Before I watched the episode, I did a little sneak peek on Brock TV's video. And, he was sitting there saying, I really enjoyed this episode. Lately with GH, it's been a lot of hit and miss, and it's gotten to a point where when he says that, I've been sitting there like, are we like watching two different shows? But today, I gotta sit there and say, I agreed with him. This episode, it was like, it was getting back to his roots. GH was actually getting back to his roots. Today was an actual really good episode. Start off with Chase, Michael, and Willow. It finally goes down after months and months and months of waiting. It's finally here. Willow starts to confess the truth to Chase. That, they're together, this, that, and the third. And it's funny because she says something along the lines of, I have to tell you about me and Michael. And Chase is like, yeah, no, I already know. Y'all two in love. And she's all like, well, how did you know? They go back and forth a little bit. And pretty much Willow just confesses everything. The reason why she was lying, and she felt bad for it, and it was just one mistake after the other. Now, again, to be fair, both parties deserves a bit of hee-haw in this whole thing. Because, Michael and Willow have been lying to this guy for months. And Chase emotionally manipulated Willow into marrying him. And even after he got better, which would have been the right thing to do, be like, hey, listen, I get that you kind of married me on my deathbed, but since I'm not dying, if you don't want to actually take this step just yet, I understand. Especially considering the fact that they literally just started going back on dates again. But he didn't do that. So, again, half of this is really on him. Also, trying to use her as an emotional crutch. So, they go through it all. Michael says some stuff. I'm like, Michael, you seriously need to just kind of just stop talking. I get that he's trying to run interference this way, like Chase doesn't come at Willow too hard, but I'm like, bro, just no. After all that is said, after Chase literally says, I can walk again, he stands up and he says, hey, by the way, I was at the gatehouse where I saw all your clothes on the floor, and you can imagine where my mind went. After all that, he has a note. The note that Edward left. Now, I gotta sit there and say I am very blessed that have the best subscribers in the world, because I overlooked the fact that yesterday when Brooklyn gave Chase back the letter, after Chase was like, well, no, you gotta give it back to me. No, she doesn't. This is her place, not yours. You started snooping in their rooms and you found this letter. I don't give a damn if you're a cop or not. That's illegal how you found it. Yeah, they invited you to stay in a room. They didn't sit there and invite you to find proof, find a letter and give it to someone else. What are you, nuts? I feel like in some ways that's sort of like if Chase was like, you know what, Michael, I really want to get back at you. I think that lamp is like $1,000. Hey, Austin, you want a lamp? No. I feel like that's sort of the same thing. Now, granted, I'm not a lawyer, but I am very lucky enough to actually have some subscribers who do work in the law field. So tell me if the way that Chase found the letter, is it admissible as far as Austin's, case as far as suing the Quartermains or whatever? Like, is that, admissible, or is it just, would they look at it and be, illegally attained? Either way, no, they really shouldn't have given back the letter. And when he's like, I found the letter and yada, 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 Michael's like, no, you can't do it. And Will's like, no, you can't do it. I'm like, Michael, just take the damn letter from him. I don't give a damn if he's a cop or not. He had no right to sit there and go in Edward's room to take that letter. Why the hell are you sitting there? Anyway, you got Brooklyn, Austin out there arguing for the fact that Brooklyn is pissed that Austin used Chase's anger to, well, get him to do his dirty work. They're going back and forth. And, Austin's like, well, listen, it's up to Willow. It's up to Chase. Brooklyn's like, oh, well, he's going to do the right thing. No, you should have did the right thing and actually kept the letter, but sure, whatever. So they all go back in there, and they're all looking at Chase to sit there and see if he's going to, quote-unquote, do the right thing. I don't know how I missed that yesterday, but I want to thank everyone for pointing that out. Peter, he's back, and he's peeking through the window, well, through the bar window like a creep, and Sonny walks up like, well, what are you doing? They start talking, and, Peter quickly realizes that, yeah, he doesn't know who I am. Like, I guess he lost his memory or something like that. Because he tries to say he's some other guy, he's a writer or something like that, and when Sonny offers him, like, some glass of water, they both go inside, they run into Nina, and Nina drops all the glasses that she was holding. And I'm just like, and I'm like, this is good. This is great. Seeing Nina sweat, be all worried about the plan. It was so good. And she got pissed for it. Because I enjoyed that scene that much. So, while Sonny's sitting there talking to Peter, and, Sonny's sitting there saying that he lost his memory, and yada, 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 Peter just has that look, because Nina, she really just has a really extremely bad poker face, and she's just sweating bullets. She's sweating bullets, eat my cheese doodles, and Peter kind of realizes what's going on. So, when Mike leaves, and he's like, before he leaves, he's like, you're going to be okay with this guy. I'm like, did you not just see her reaction earlier? You're going to ask? Nah, bro. She's going to be just fine. You can just knock off for the rest of the night. She walks off. He walks off. They talk a little bit. And it looks like Nina is like, yeah, maybe I should just take care of this problem. And she looked like she's going to reach for the gun. And I'm like, I'm loving this. At this point, I feel like Peter has Nina right where he wants her. He's going to blackmail her. Because he knows that Nina is hiding his identity from him. So, it's great. I love it. And I can't wait for tomorrow's episode. And I mean the whole episode, not just little parts of it. Like the whole episode. Liz. For the longest time, I really don't understand the hatred that Liz got. And this is before I, started doing videos and I was more on Facebook, and people used to, people used to go hard on Liz in the comment section. I was like, damn, is she that bad? Am I missing something? Or apparently I've been missing something. Because Liz did a move that I would expect a 15-year-old teenager to do when they want to go to a party and one parent says no, so you go to the other parent and the other parent says yes, and you just play them against each other. That's literally what she did. For all her judging and everything else, really, Liz? Really? I expect Cameron or one of your children to do something like this, but she walks up to Britt, and she's all like, oh, did you get my, my stuff on my vacation time? And Britt was like, yeah, I got it. Kind of late, but, sure. But, yeah, I'm going to sit there and say no. Because I'm not going to sit there and be sitting there trying to figure out another person to get at the last minute of you giving me this letter. What are you, nuts? And, Liz starts, getting all upset with her. And I'm like, what job do you know that you could just sit there and give your employer last minute notes on vacation time and just expect them to honor it. And she's all like, no, you can do it. It's fine. So Britt says no. Britt gets a phone call. You see Liz making a beeline right towards Terry and asks her the same question. You know what this child did? Because I feel like I can't call her an adult at this point. She walked back up to Britt and it's like, well, Terry made an exception. I'm like, are you kidding me? So she walks off. Terry walks over. Now you got Britt and Terry arguing. Well, Britt morally checking Terry. And Britt was like, yo, listen, I told her no. Why the hell did you sit there and say yes for her? Now, Terry at the time didn't know that Liz asked Britt first. So after she realized, she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, whatever. Because Britt was like, listen, we're supposed to be a team. That's what you wanted. Now you got nurses and people playing us against each other? What are you, like, come on. So later on in the scene, you see Terry walk up to Liz and it's like, yo, why didn't you sit there and tell me that she said no before you walked up to me? And she literally checks her. And Liz has that confused look on her face like, are you scolding me? Yes! What are you... this almost reminds me of the time when I started watching it again and Ulbrich or Liesel fired Liz because she walked off, I guess during one of her shifts, and she came back and she snapped at Liz. She snapped at Liesel. And Liesel was like, alright, you're fired. And Liz had that shocked look on her face, like, and even Liesel was like, are you surprised that I fired you? I'm like, yo, that is your boss. That is your, I hate saying boss, but that is your manager. She can hire and fire people at will. Now she has this confused look on her face like, is she coming down on me? Of course, Britt walks over and Britt's like, yo, listen, Amy needs some hours so we can sit there and make it work. And so Britt's like, I want you to go home, get some rest or whatever. And, Liz is all like, oh, well, I'm going to be getting plenty of rest. It's going to be a camping thing or whatever. But, it's for the boys. I'm like, Liz, you got what you wanted. You went about it in a very childish and immature way. But you got what you wanted. So you should probably make the most of that time and just walk on out of here. This is after she looks at both of them like, oh, they're agreeing on each other? Like, they're agreeing? Like, Liz, you're an idiot. You are an absolute moron. And apparently you can add immature to the list, so congratulations. Britt and Liz shake, and, it seems like their partnership is going to get a lot stronger. All thanks to immature Liz. Well, I guess they needed some sort of thing, some sort of reason to have their, their whole co-captain crap, like, work, so, alright. Dante and Sam pretty much just ran on the clock. Nothing really happened. They just talked about Drew and how she misses Drew for, Scout Shake. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like that name. I know her name, the middle name is Emily, and I would have rather than went with that than her son to pick out a name because he wanted a dog, but sure. Anyway, Sam talks about how, Scout and Drew need to be together because they need to have that bond that you and Rocco have, and yada yada yada, and not gonna lie, it doesn't really go anywhere. Now, Drew, another scene that's interesting. I want to sit there and say I'm low-key liking Cameron's version of Drew, but I can't really sit there and say low-key because, again, I gotta kind of look at this whole, recasting thing as just a different actor taking on the same part and not being exactly the same. Anyway, I'm not gonna lie, I'm liking it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the last time we saw Nurse Chloe or whatever her name was, she was literally in a dumpster? I know I remember that scene because I sat there and said, well, damn, Peter. You could have just drugged her or fired her or, well, anything. You literally tossed her into the dumpster like she was trash. I know I saw that scene. I know I saw that scene. And Drew gets a visit from the nurse, which is Nurse Chloe, who I could have swore I saw in the dumpsters, but sure. Why not? I mean, we're, retconning everything else. Let's just add one more to the list. Um, so, she patches him up the best she can. And, Drew gets the idea, like, yo, listen, I was going to sit there and try to fight my way out. I probably wouldn't have got far, but I was going to try. So he's like, yo, listen, I need your help. You got more freedom than I do. I mean, you're not in chains. So he's like, yo, I get their trust. Have a pen, tell the guards. I mean, they're going to kick my ass, but I can take the beating if you could sit there and help me get out of here. You can gain their trust and yada, yada, yada. So he convinces her, and she's like, yep, guard. Guard comes in, practically thanks Chloe. And, well, I mean, we all know what happened to Drew at that point. But throughout this time, he was having these vivid dreams of Sam and, Scout, which looked like she's like 7 now, because reasons. That's pretty much what happened. But it looks like his plan is starting to work a little bit. I feel like half of the plan is going to be on Chloe helping Drew get out. But I feel like it's going to be Sam and Dante that's going to sit there and help him get through the rest. Or at least that's what I'm hoping. Let's see what happens. Brooklyn kind of quickly scolded Nina before, she looked like she saw a ghost. About the fact that, she guided Maxie to come back to Port Charles even though she wasn't ready. And she's going to wind up messing up her plan. But, I don't even remember what Nina said. I guess, I'm not going to lie, I don't really remember. Maxie comes in and she's talking to Carly and Jason. Now, Carly and Jason was having that same discussion about how things are going to change and she's all nervous and he's not nervous. And I'm not going to lie, I really just do not care about the wedding. I have not cared about the wedding since it started and my mind has not changed. But as they're talking about their stupid wedding and they want to sit there and show force for the 5 families and they want to invite them all together, it's going to be all public and stuff, Maxie needs something to do. So Maxie agrees to be the wedding planner. And she convinces Carly and Jason to sit there and go along with it. I mean, Maxie was like, so do you got a budget, Jason? And Jason was like, nope. Alright, damn. I mean, you make the rest of us mortal men look a little kind of inferior, but sure. Alright. But it gives her something to do. And hopefully she's doing that and not really trying to mess up her own plan about, Luis. You know what? I've heard of worse names. Scout is a worse name. So Luis is not exactly the worst name. Worstest name, I guess I could sit there and say. But yeah, it gives us something to do. So awesome. I feel like that's about it for the most part. I know I probably forgot about maybe 1 or 2 things, but I gotta sit there and say. Oh, let me just double check my notes. I think that's about it, more or less. But, yeah, I gotta sit there and say, this was an actual good episode. I mean, yeah, I wasn't a fan of the whole Carly and Jason talk, but I haven't really been a fan of them talking about their stupid wedding for a while. And Sam and Dante talking about Drew, and, Dante talking about his mistakes, and Peter paying for, his crimes against Drew. I was like, alright, that's all good and well, but, like, I mean, it wasn't the worst, but I felt like it was going to be a group of people that was going to run down the clock, and I was just like, alright, who's going to volunteer? Sam and Dante? Alright, well, that seems about right. I mean, most people don't exactly like those two together anyway. I mean, I know they're not blood related, but they share a sibling, and that's already kind of weird enough, but whatever. Anyway, with that being said, I think that's pretty much about it. If I missed anything, please write it down in the comment section below. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. I will see you in the next video.